Hello and thank you for joining us on today's episode of Malaika, the talk show for African Christian women, where no subject is off limits. Today, what we consume affects our lives and takes our time. To see what we'll be speaking about, stay tuned. Today's topic is the media we consume, whether it's the music we listen to, the movies we watch, or even the articles we read. These things deeply affect our values. So, to have an honest conversation today in studio, Mama Audrey's here. Welcome, Mama.
Hi,
Audrey.
Jackie. Happy to be with you.
So good.
As usual.
Yes, exactly.
We love
And
it.
As usual as well, Auntie Zod, thank you for your presence.
Thanks, Jackie. Great to be here today.
And last but not least, our panel, Tatiana.
Thank you, Jackie. This topic hits a little bit too close to home.
Very close.
But I'm looking forward to it, Jackie.
I know. Enlightening for all of us, isn't it?
Hopefully we can take a decision after this program.
Exactly. And viewers and listeners, we have with us Pastor Leon Vismer from CTMI. Thank you, Pastor, for joining us.
Jackie, good to be with you. An interesting topic. I'm sure we'll all learn something and maybe even have some adjustments, as you said, Tatiana.
Exactly. Thank you.
Some adjustments, I think lots of
A lot
adjustments. You're very positive.
He's been very positive, which is good. That's why he's on set, Miss. All right, so to get us started with the media we consume, let's give room to Tatiana's overview. Tatiana, let's get started. What do we have?
Well, Jackie, we have an overview, that's for sure.
That's guaranteed.
That's guaranteed. Well, we live in a culture that is saturated with media and entertainment. And while much of it is enjoyable and engaging, some content may be distracting, harmful, and even troubling on a spiritual level. That's why we're here today.
Yes.
So we're looking at entertainment choices because, well, that is what they are. They are choices. Whether it's movies, as Jackie said, games, social media, what we consume reflects more than just our taste. It really does reveal our moods, our needs, and our values.
Sure.
So what do our media diets look like today? We are a mobile-first culture. If that is the first time you have heard that, that is shocking.
No,
Because
first time I've heard it. Have you heard that before?
No?
No,
well,
never heard that.
let me enlighten you. The
Yeah.
average person checks their phone 96 times a day and interacts with it over 2,600 times daily. What does that mean?
Wow.
We're tapping, we're swiping, we're scrolling. It has quite literally become second nature. On-demand habits reign. We want our content instantly. We have no patience and we pass over anything that takes too long to scroll, too long to load, or anything that just doesn't keep up with our pace. So what does our screen time look like today? Well, on average, adults are spending 3 hours and this is a moderate statistic, 3 hours and 8 hours a day streaming and watching TV. And for teens, that is actually doubled. Teens are spending upward of 9 hours a day on their screens and streaming social media, the like, and movies. Excuse
I
me?
wonder.
What time is left for school?
Exactly.
Oh, wait.
Good question.
Well, I think they're not sleeping.
They're not keeping.
Yeah.
When you don't sleep, it's really
Yeah.
possible. Allez, so lastly, not lastly for the overview, lastly
Yes.
for the subject is binge watching. Streaming platforms have drastically reshaped our attention spans, making longer sessions back to back. We want content and we never want to stop because that episode always leaves us on that little hook.
A cliffhanger.
Exactly, that little cliffhanger where we want to find out what's next. Stop looking at me. This is obviously not my problem. Are they key trends? Well, short-form video content dominates today. That is everything on TikTok. That's Reels. It's the shorts, what we're watching on YouTube. The next trend is that multimedia multitasking. Have you ever heard that before?
Multimedia
Multitasking.
So-
When you are working on your
You know, doing
computer...
many things at the same time and
Yes,
are using
yes.
multimedia.
There you go.
Yes.
Working on your computer, listening to a song,
And,
checking your phone and
yes,
scrolling,
yes.
looking at that notification. It's
Yes.
become the norm.
Yes.
You had mentioned earlier about reading, which is a very old-fashioned, outdated method of learning. But today, it's actually audio formats such as
Yes.
podcasting and audiobooks have quite literally replaced reading, which is amazing because you have the opportunity to learn at the same time of being engaged.
I still love my book,
Exactly.
my
Well,
paperback.
It's good, Jackie. It's good. Well, why do we choose the media we watch? Because this is why we're here today. Well, number one, it's entertainment. It's fun. We want to relax. It's based off of our mood, what we're feeling. Number two is escapism. Often we just want a break from daily stress, social connection, information and learning. We already spoke about it. Lastly, identity and expression. We sometimes want to just feed ourselves with the things that we like and enjoy. And a global study found that 70% of Gen Zs actually use media to help reflect and show their identity and beliefs. It's not so shocking, it's quite common. And why does this topic matter? Because media shapes the mind. Studies have shown that repeated exposure to certain narrative influences our beliefs, especially in children and teens. And as women, mothers, sisters, and friends, what we watch, it doesn't just affect us. It sets the tones in our homes, in our family, and in our relationships. And on that note, over to you, Jackie.
Thank you. I'll pick
No
it up
problem.
a note. By passing the note.
That was a handful.
It was.
Quite
It was a cool handful.
Where do we start, Jackie?
I have no idea. Well, we will start with Auntie Zod. So that's what we're moving over to. Go for it, Auntie Zod.
Okay, so I'll start at the beginning. I think I'm going to rewind us and slow us down a bit because I grew up in the 80s, and I think Mama Audrey, all of us would know this. When I look at where we are and when we grew up, literally TV used to start at 4 p.m. with the cartoons. And at midnight, it would switch off with a prayer and an epilogue, and then the national anthem, then the TV will switch off.
Wow, that is so archaic.
That was our schedule.
Wow.
And as kids, we knew that when it's 8 o'clock news, there was a certain beat that came to the news time. It's bedtime.
For me, that's when its father has to watch it and everyone else.
Now
goes to
it's
bed.
the parents that are watching. So we're moving from that to where today, 24 hours a day, on tap, you can access anything that you'd like. Whether it's movies, like she has said, or you're online, like social media, Facebook, TikTok, all these things we didn't know. In fact, we didn't even have phones. There were no cell phones at the time. So when you look at it today, the world that we are living in, the world that the Christians are growing up in, I even fear, especially for the young people that are growing up in this world, where so much is available, so much is accessible on tap. And what concerns us and why we're talking today is that we are seeing that a lot of young people, not even just young, a lot of Christians, whatever age, they are really caught up in social media. They spend hours and hours scrolling. They spend hours on Facebook. And in fact, we're talking about it just before the program, how many Christians are caught up with selfies and posting themselves online. And so there is a very thin line between what the world is doing and what us Christians are doing. And I believe that somehow today we just want to enlighten the Christians out there of the dangers of social media and to make them aware that we don't have to be caught up in this world. We don't have to be the ones that are actually posting the videos, posting ourselves, feeding our children, putting ourselves out there. Somewhere the Lord has another road for us. But currently, to be honest, there is no separation between the Christian and the person in the world. We are all the same at the moment. So this makes for a very good discussion with Pastor Leon.
And not only they can watch everything every day, all day, but what you can't watch and you want to watch, you can still record it.
Yes.
And come back home later.
Yes.
See it, stop where you can and resume where you can and where you want. So at the end of the day, it's available. What you want is available 24/7.
Exactly.
But even multimedia, if you think about it, Audrey, if I look at a post of someone, they're not going to send a picture of a normal breakfast. You see the photo of the best breakfast ever. There's everything. It's a huge spread.
Perfect.
And it's so fake.
Yeah.
And then when I see that, I look at my muesli that I had
And you
in the
think,
morning.
like,
You know,
We're no
I
longer
somehow missed
content.
out.
The pathetic
You
cashews
feel
are
left
floating.
behind. You feel left behind.
yes,
And then I see that photo, and then next week I must improve on that.
yes.
How many?
We need to
How
keep
far
up.
do you need to go? You know?
Let's catch up.
Yes.
Exactly. So
And that is one area.
Yes.
It can be so many areas.
Yes.
Yeah. No, of course.
Exactly.
And they know what button to press. I'm telling you.
Exactly. Auntie Zod was talking about, is there a difference? We are all in this world, right? This digital world. Whether you're Christian, you're not Christian, you're there. And as Christians, is the media harmful? How can it be harmful for me? And how will I know what to choose and what not to choose?
I mean, it's harmful in the sense of the time it's taking from you. In the time that you have left for other things which are important, which you never get to do. And how to get rid of it, or that's not possible to get rid of it, but we must become to a place where we know as Christians, the Bible says, greater is he that lives in us than he who is in the world. The Lord says to us that we don't have to be taught. The Lord has given us a spirit of wisdom and of power. And it's for us to decide things. We know what's good for us. We know what's bad for us. But our flesh is strong.
Exactly.
Our flesh wants to know. Our flesh wants to be up to date with what's happening everywhere because our friend next door is up to date. The guy at school is going to talk about this tomorrow. What am I going to say if I don't know anything about it?
Yes.
So it's a big trap. And if Christians are not careful, before they know, they will end up being huge consumers and no time left for the Bible, for the Lord, for fellowship, for anything. It's just, it makes me laugh. Sometimes you say to people, come and help me do this. I don't have time. But if you ask that person how many hours he spent on media during that day, because that is so important to them, they will not sort of reduce their what they need to see on media. This is priority. They won't, and they can't, and it's very sad. But what Zoda was saying, you know that in Seychelles, at time of supper, there's no TV. Up to today.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it stops for a while and then it
It's
continues?
family time.
Oh, that's
Wow,
great.
that's great.
During supper time, it's family time, and there's no TV. I mean, I'm talking about a few years ago. I don't think it has changed. Maybe it has changed. But I was there recently, and no, during the TV time, it was family time,
Yes.
and which is excellent.
Yeah, it's great.
Yes.
So if countries could do that, but
Exactly. Now, you've just spoken about a practical step that they've done. I'll come to you, Pastor Leon. What practical steps could Christians do at home with their children in terms of regulating, if possible, or even with regarding phone use to curb the type of media we consume? Is it possible?
I think for us as parents, obviously, in that with our children, we must firstly take responsibility ourselves. And, a child will follow our example. So firstly, if mom and dad are a good example, then the children will hopefully follow in that. And I think that's sometimes where mom and dad, it's more like you will do what I say, not what I do.
Exactly.
Yes.
they themselves are on the phone.
They're stuck on the phone.
And I think that's the first struggle. But I think what we obviously want to do is we want to raise our kids to be morally responsive. And we can definitely teach our kids how can they honestly evaluate what they're looking at, what they're watching. And if just thinking of what Paul said, whatever things are pure, whatever things are holy, whatever things are, meditate on those kind of things. And I think it's a transmission for parents. But I also think, obviously, practically, some parents, we can make a mistake. We put a device in someone's hand. And sadly, there's been little expressions like it's nothing different than digital cocaine. So I'm giving a loaded gun to a child. What do I expect to get back? So it's not ideal.
But then what do I do if I need to cook? My other child needs to do homework, and I just want the child to sit quietly. Is that okay?
But how did they do when you were 5 years old? How did your mom do?
I don't know. Those were super women.
I don't know. We used to play outside.
Exactly.
Yes.
Think about it. We used to play. We used to make up games. We were so innovative.
We used
But
to
the
be out of
kids-
the house and came back when
If you
we
put
knew
a kid
supper was
outside
up.
today, they are lost. They don't even know what to do. They don't give you you give them a ball. They don't even know what to do. They want to watch. They want to play the ball inside the house on the lounge.
And we must say it's not really safe for kids to play outside today as it was in the past. Society has changed and neighborhoods are not as safe as they are.
They'll play outside.
Of course they can play outside in their yards.
In the yard.
But many neighborhoods are not that safe today.
Yeah, but that's
I'm not justifying that we don't
yeah, but
go
that's
outside.
that is not the reason why they're not going outside. Even if there was a fourth there, they would still not go outside because.
Have you seen that cartoon where it says, "Dad, come and let's play tennis," and the dad changes and he wears his, gets his racket, wears his shorts, and he goes outside, and the kid is by the video game and he's watching. Dad, let's play tennis.
Communication break.
Yes. Generational gap. So coming back to that, Pastor Leon, about phones and about sometimes the media we consume. I don't know if this question can actually be answered, but what age would generally be appropriate to give a child a phone? Though I'm sure it does vary, right? Sorry to put you.
A smartphone.
A smartphone, or just a phone to access, whether it be...
That has to be smart.
Yeah, it's
It
got
has to be smartphone, yes.
Yeah.
You know, I think what I'll say is not popular. I would say leave it as long as you possibly can.
Exactly.
So I would even go as far as to say most kids don't need a phone.
Except just to a little normal phone to tell you I'm coming back, I finished from school.
A four-color Nokia to send a SMS and to Mom, Dad, I'm finished at ballet, can you come fetch me? Or school has ended. But look, it's not popular. But for me, as long as you can possibly push it out, because there are just so many stories of as soon as you put that device in a young child's hands, even an older child, there's just so many testimonies where it gains their life. It really
does, yeah.
It's not obviously has some benefits. I mean, a phone is not, it's not completely horrible.
It's not all negative.
Yeah, it's not all negative, but there's so many testimonies and stories of mom and dads coming, crying, saying, you know what, this is what has destroyed my child's life, you know. The way they interact with media, how it consumes them, the time that they spend, how isolated they are, socially dysfunctional they are, and all of these things. And I think mom and dads unknowingly, they put, it is like we said, a loaded weapon. It's like giving a loaded weapon to someone who's had no training. And
then, you know, parents are surprised why kids don't share their hearts.
Exactly.
Why don't they share their trouble, their struggles, what they're going through? And when it comes to fellowship, you put all kids together, they've got nothing to say.
Exactly.
Because they are not used to communicate. They are not used to talk. They are only used to be on their screen. And
there's basic
it's
skills.
It's very sad.
There's basic skills that I know, Audrey, exactly. Social skills, to interact, to answer a question, to be part of the family discussion.
And they are not interested anyway.
Yeah.
We have only one idea for the supper to be finished so that they can go back to
eat with the phone.
what they are doing.
I'm living at the Airbnb. My supper needs to be on time so that I can get back to my...
Exactly.
It's my hobby.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a question for Audrey, maybe, Auntie Mama Audrey. So let's say a child is watching this and it pops up, an inappropriate image pops up, but some people that has never happened to them, and some people it has happened to them.
It never did.
It's never happened to you before?
No.
You're in safe places.
You're in safe places, in holy ground.
No, I've never had anything come to disturb me, ever. This is why I was wondering, I was asking earlier, is there something people do so that it triggers that? Because I know that I'm interested in like politics in America. I could be interested in what's happening with Israel. And I know that I'm interested in the tennis, what's happening. So obviously when I open my YouTube, these things will come up. But never I had any funny thing coming up. I will have something to do with Christian organization, things that I've already been interested in myself. But never I had, I don't know if you guys here had something pop up. Am I the only one?
You may be.
You see, Zodwa is
haven't had.
holy are thou.
Oh yeah.
You obviously don't watch rom-coms.
Next time we need to sit on that seat. I think it's a holy
Seems
seat.
to me that Tatiana had a few pop-ups.
Well, it's a genre that might like romantic comedy.
Let's hear from Pastor Leon.
I think when that happens is, obviously there are some sites that you can go to, and on those sites maybe they have advertising quotas that they need to sort of cater for. And on those sites, the biggest danger is pop-ups. So technology where exactly what it is. It's a JavaScript-based pop-up that pops up on your screen. And I think the easiest way for us and parents and to guard ourselves is if we turn off that functionality, because in your internet browser you can turn off all pop-ups, you can turn off all
Where
ads.
do you explain to us? Where do you do that?
It's generally in your settings. It differs from browser to browser, but it's generally in your settings in your browser. You can either disable pop-ups. So for me, as an example, there's a specific browser brand like Brave, or there's a few others you can research, and they are built to be so they block all pop-ups. You don't get pop-ups. So it's off by default, and if you want it, then you must
Activate.
it. So generally on a site like that, you never get anything that comes back, So, and I think that could definitely be something to protect, but most probably, obviously, the more you go into sites where you shouldn't be,
Little pop-up.
That's it. That makes the open door.
yeah, exactly.
And if you entertain, and when the pop-up comes, if on top of all you start entertaining, then the
Yes.
pop-ups are going to be
They're going to keep coming.
quite regular and more aggressive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need a half a second for a pop-up to be effective.
So we
So-
really need to be.
Wow.
There's not a lot of time. So I think that's the best, is to guard against that. And it's a very easy setting in a browser. It's not technically, and most actually modern browsers these days have it off by default.
Okay.
I might be wrong, but at least the ones I use.
Okay.
So
All right.
Not is that browser free?
yes.
So maybe you
Yeah.
can encourage people to have
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
download it.
Yeah.
I have another question for you, Mama Audrey, in terms of posting on social media. So we are talking about the media we consume, but to consume it, sometimes we have to upload, and sometimes people.
Yeah, I think that there's a difference between consuming and participating. I mean, I go on social media. I want to know what happened to the tennis in Wimbledon yesterday. I want to know what has happened in Israel. I want to know a few things. But then from then to participate, that's another thing. Because if you start now commenting, you start getting involved, you start now replying to Facebook, it's a never-ending story. And I think that the Christians, there is, as you said earlier on, or Auntie Zod said that there's no difference today between, when it comes to media consumption, between the world and Christians. The world will post beers and being on the beach and dancing and whatever, but Christians will post different, but they will post as much. So they don't have any sense of privacy for their own life, for their own kids. I don't want anybody to know what I'm doing with my life. It's none of their business. But today, everybody feels like, it seems like it's a need for them to I don't know if they feel like an influencer, if they feel like somebody important that they want to become. I don't know what's behind it.
But is it bad for let's say, pastor's wife? She posts herself. She says, "Glory be to the
But
Lord."
why? Why would she do that?
There's so many that do that, Mama. Or
Yeah,
I
but-
don't.
Yeah, but you ask a question, is there anything wrong with that? But what's the reason? What is it building? Do you see Jesus going on Facebook and taking pictures of himself, going like this on Facebook? I don't think Jesus would do that.
No,
And I don't think the woman of old will do that. So it's just a world influence on the church, on the Christians who are just allowing themselves to flow with the world and not realize that they are different. And I really don't know. People saying, "My darling, I lived with you 50 years. You are the best of my." Please, that is for your husband. You don't need to everybody to know what you've told what you want to tell your husband. You've been the best husband. Keep it for yourself and for your kids. Tell that to your kids, Dad been the best. But why? What is that drive to go and put it online? I don't. Maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned. I didn't say old. I said
Old-fashioned. You chose your words wisely.
And really, I fail to understand, because what does it build? What does it bring back? 3 people will comment, lovely pics. One will say, sweetheart, lovely. 5 persons will comment, and 10 persons will comment.
I'm so sorry to cut you off. So sorry.
No, but you asked me a question.
I did, but I have to cut you too. I'm sorry. I apologize sincerely. But you have to give us your final word now, please.
I mean, final word, guys. Stop it. You know, we must stop. We must stop, and we must come to realize that we are just special people. We are not people of the world. If I'm going to go and do something good, I'll stop in the street, I'll feed a dog. I don't mind putting that on Facebook, not to make myself famous, but to encourage people to know there are needs and to respond to the need. If I will stop, I'd pick up somebody on the road who is sick and whatever, and I want to help. So it's just things to encourage people to not to look for fame, not to look for recognition, not to look for anything like this. But we, somewhere down the line, Christians, we must be honest. We must acknowledge where we are at. If we are bound, we must accept that we are bound, because unless we accept, we'll never want to be free, and we'll never do anything towards freedom. And we must acknowledge that this little thing is controlling our lives. And I'm talking to myself. I must receive, I don't know, I'm not picking up 1,600 messages per day, but quite a lot. Because then you always think, maybe it's urgent. It's not necessarily curious. You see, maybe it's urgent. Maybe somebody needs me. Maybe it's an urgent reply I need. And then when you look at it, it wasn't that. But anyway, it's too late. And now they've said something. You just have to reply and tell them no, or yes, or whatever. So at the end of the day, we spend a lot of time that could have been used in a much better way. And the good news is, we pray, we say, Father, let your will be done as it is on earth, as it is in heaven. In heaven, there won't be phones.
Hallelujah.
So there won't be phones, there will be heaven media, there won't be social media, there'll be heaven media. So let's get used to our new lifestyle and realize that we won't need that.
Amen.
To serve the Lord in heaven, that we'll be so occupied, so blessed that, you know, the phone is, it should lose its importance to us even now.
Exactly.
And I'm talking to myself.
Yes.
I'm being very honest.
And to us too, Mama Audrey. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much, Pastor
Thank you.
Leon,
Nice
for
to be with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies.
Quickest discussion ever.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, viewers and listeners. Thank you for staying with us. I'm telling you, this affects us all, and it's not going to be even easier. Okay, so don't stop watching Malaika. Like, share, subscribe so that you can receive every episode. Bye. See you later. Hello everyone, Malaika is back again with more soul-stirring, heart-wrenching questions and answers. Be sure to connect to the next episode and the next season that is coming up with topics like postnatal depression, the role of the older women, and so many more. See you soon.